Hey, good morning. Patricia Murphy here. It's Saturday. This is Seattle Now. Today we're bringing you the best from the KUOW Newsroom. We'll start with a story about federal Medicaid cuts impacting a family in Bellevue. Every parent's goal for their children is to teach them life skills that help them launch into adulthood. But that gets complicated when a child has a disability. KUOW's Ruby DeLuna has the story of one Bellevue family and their fear of what the Trump administration's recent safety net cutbacks could mean for their son. Here's Ruby.
The Medicaid waiver program provides support for nearly every aspect of Nate Nemhauser's life, whether he's getting ready for school, taking part in enrichment activities, or getting ready for his work shift at Pagliacci Pizza.
All right, let's wash your hands.
What?
Nate is 21 years old. He has a diagnosis of autism and an intellectual disability. Communication and concentration are difficult for him. His job coach, Megan Szymanski, helps him clock in and stay on task, folding pizza boxes and stocking the drink cooler.
Good.
Ow.
It's okay.
Nate started work in November. His mother, Rachel Nemhauser, says he started with just 1 2-hour shift a week. Then it became 2 shifts. Now it's up to 3.
He has this rich, busy life, and these Medicaid waivers are there to help make it happen, make it a reality.
Many people associate Medicaid with health care for low-income families, but it's more than that. In the early 1990s, the federal government gave states flexibility to use Medicaid funds for non-medical services. The goal was to allow recipients who are elderly or with disabilities to stay home and within their communities instead of relying on institutional care. Nemhauser applied for a waiver when Nate was a toddler. She remembers struggling to provide care. His needs were intensive, requiring specialized services like speech and behavior therapies.
I was starting to wonder, do I have to find another place for him to live? I don't know if I can care for him. And that's a really low place to be.
After a 9-year wait, Nate was granted a waiver at age 12. He receives about $6,000 a year in aggregate funds. Nemhauser says that money is spent on programs to help with Nate's daily needs. He requires one-on-one support from specialized providers who are experienced working with people with autism and other disabilities. He needs similar support to participate in recreational activities. The family has to decide how to allocate those funds.
If he's spending more time getting employment support, he doesn't need as much recreational activities, but there's never enough.
According to the Washington State Health Care Authority, nearly 2 million Washington residents are enrolled on Medicaid. The agency is still assessing the impacts of the recently approved federal budget, but it's projecting up to 320,000 enrollees to lose coverage. Supporters of the cuts argue current Medicaid spending is unsustainable, adding that the system's eligibility requirements have been lax, leading to fraud and abuse.
I am not seeing these systems being misused. I'm seeing people desperate for help and accessing these as life-saving measures.
Nemhauser says Nate is at a crossroads. He has 1 year of school left. They're trying to map out how he'll find social opportunities and ways to fill his time outside of work. But she says it's hard to make plans when it's not clear yet what steps the state will take and whether it'll allow Nate enough support to live the life he wants.
He wants a job and a house and a girlfriend and a cat. It's not, he's not asking for a lot.
Back at Pagliacci Pizza, Nate has just clocked out of his work shift. He's about to enjoy one of the perks of the job, a slice of pizza and a Coke.
All right, Nate, what kind of pizza are you going to get today?
Pizza.
Do you ever get anything else on your pizza?
No.
The hope is that one day, Nate will no longer need a job coach at work as he presses on toward his goal of independence. Ruby DeLuna, KUOW News.
Now, a more in-depth look at a story you heard just a bit about on Casual Friday this week. Local public employees in Washington are utilizing artificial intelligence tools for city business. KNKX and Cascade PBS obtained thousands of pages of ChatGPT logs, providing a detailed window into how AI is reshaping government. Spoiler alert, It's a lot. But policies regulating how and when the technology should be used are still catching up. Murrow News fellow Nate Sanford has the story.
Earlier this year, a city employee in Everett needed help coming up with a social media post promoting local parks around the first day of spring. They turned to ChatGPT. I'm using an OpenAI text-to-speech model to read the message.
It's officially the first day of spring, and we couldn't be more excited. Whether you're strolling through our beautiful parks, hitting the trails, or enjoying a picnic with loved ones, today is the perfect day to get outside.
The employee published ChatGPT's words on the city Instagram page. They'd copied it nearly verbatim. Use of AI goes well beyond lighthearted social media posts. I found examples of city officials using ChatGPT to generate speeches, talking points, grant applications, responses to emails from constituents, and more. In Everett, Mayor Cassie Franklin says use of the chatbot has been driven by early adopters, experimenting with the technology on their own initiative.
And if we don't embrace it and use it, we will really be left behind.
She says more staff are being encouraged to use AI tools for efficiency in tight budget times.
Again, as a city that has very limited resources due to the cap on property tax, we have to get with the times and start to use these tools.
I looked at ChatGPT logs from Everett covering a roughly 2-year time frame, from June 2023 to June this year, as the chatbot started becoming popular. Everett isn't necessarily an outlier. I filed public records requests with almost a dozen Washington cities, and they were just one of the fastest to respond. Many of the early logs show users kicking the tires, asking it simple questions. One employee asked ChatGPT how it felt about South Everett.
As a machine learning model, I don't have personal opinions. However, I can provide information based on available data. South Everett, Washington, is known for its suburban feel, diverse neighborhoods, and proximity to amenities.
KNKX and Cascade PBS decided not to name individual employees in this story because they aren't public-facing officials. Many didn't seem to realize their ChatGPT history could get released to a reporter. Over the past year, the volume of messages seems to have ramped up, and staffers are using it for more complex tasks, researching software purchases, generating policy documents, and planning major projects. During our interview at Everett City Hall, I showed Mayor Franklin a letter she'd sent to U.S. Representative Rick Larson in March. The letter asks him to co-sponsor legislation making it easier for cities to buy drones for law enforcement. Here's an excerpt.
Federal funding plays a vital role in our ability to adopt new technologies that benefit the community, and this legislation would remove an unnecessary barrier.
Franklin's letter didn't mention that it was entirely generated by ChatGPT, based on a brief prompt from a city staffer. Were you aware that that was AI-generated?
I honestly, it's back in March, so I don't know. I knew our team was using AI to complement their work.
The mayor says she reviewed the letter and attached her signature before signing it. Larson, who didn't respond to an interview request, has not sponsored the drone bill. Franklin stresses that her staff have to churn out press releases and social media posts and letters like the one to the congressman with shrinking resources.
We've had to reduce our communications team by a couple of team members. We have a very small but mighty team, and so I think they've been the first to want to embrace AI.
Chatbots like ChatGPT notoriously make things up. Some people say the machines are hallucinating. The records show that public employees are aware of ChatGPT's accuracy problem. This fall, a city staffer in Everett used ChatGPT to draft updates to sections of the city's comprehensive plan. It's the massive planning document that outlines future development. The staffer gave ChatGPT a batch of data and asked it to generate a new analysis of racial housing disparities.
I want to mention that this is a government document, so factual accuracy is the top priority.
I had a colleague and an AI voice generator read sections of their conversation.
Equitable policymaking requires us to measure actual outcomes against our goals. In housing, this means looking for signs of disparate impacts, exclusion, and displacement, whether through cost burden, homeownership rates, access to amenities, or other levels.
The chatbot produced a detailed analysis, but something seemed off.
Where did you get a disproportionately greater need exists when a group's total cost burden rate exceeds a citywide average of 36%? That doesn't seem correct.
That language was my shorthand, and it's not HUD's definition.
The staffer got increasingly frustrated.
I told you factual accuracy is paramount, and not to make unsubstantiated assertions or remarks, and you just did it. Please remember this key instruction. Do not hallucinate.
You're right. I apologize for introducing an unsubstantiated summary.
The AI made repeated mistakes, but the staffer noticed and corrected them. City Council later approved the comprehensive plan updates, which included large parts of the ChatGPT output. The use of AI wasn't disclosed. In February, heavy snowfall swept through Bellingham. Bree Garcia tried driving to work, but the roads were a mess.
Entirely unsafe. I could feel that I had no control of the vehicle.
Garcia turned around and called out of work. She sent an email to the city the next day complaining about the roads not being plowed. A city communications official replied that evening. I got a copy as part of a records request that turned up thousands of pages of ChatGPT logs. This official had fed Garcia's email into the chatbot and given it a prompt that read, "Write a response acknowledging the concerns, but letting them know we did have crews out plowing." It produced a detailed response. Here's an excerpt read by a text-to-speech generator.
While we do our best to address key roadways in a timely manner, heavy snowfall and shifting weather conditions can sometimes delay our efforts. We recognize that conditions may not have been ideal.
Garcia remembers thinking the response was a little dismissive, but she didn't know it was produced by AI until I sent her a screenshot of the ChatGPT log.
It kind of makes me wonder if anybody actually sat down to seriously think about what I was saying.
Some jurisdictions in Washington have policies requiring disclosure for AI-generated communications. But many cities, including Bellingham, are still figuring out what the norm should be. Mayor Kim Lund says responding to emails from constituents seems to be a frequent way staff are using AI.
We consider that a permissive use of AI for efficiency reasons, but it's a springboard to finalize the communication with the constituent. It still requires that subject matter's expertise to review it, make sure it's accurate.
I'm focusing on Bellingham and Everett in this story, only because they were the fastest to respond to my records request.
Technology moves very fast. Law and regulation tends to move slowly.
Yuki Ishizuka is a policy analyst with the State Attorney General's office and sits on Washington's AI task force. Former Governor Jay Inslee created it in 2024. The task force is due to release recommendations for the use of AI next year.
I think there's some core things that pretty much regardless of the use case, you want to look at when you're talking about deploying AI at scale in a manner that affects people's lives.
WATEC, Washington State's IT department, released AI guidelines for state employees in 2023. A few Washington cities, including Spokane and Seattle, have adopted policies with a similar focus on transparency, security, and accuracy. In Bellingham and Everett, the IT policies are being developed by the city's IT departments. There's involvement from employee unions and leaders of other departments, but it's not a public process. From the records, I learned that a staffer in Bellingham's IT department actually used ChatGPT to draft parts of the city's policy. IT Director Don Burdick says the chatbot's output was just a jumping-off point.
So there was a lot of back and forth in that process, and that's totally what we're encouraging staff to do.
ChatGPT isn't considered a secure platform, but the records I reviewed had scattered examples of chat logs that had to be redacted because the user had entered confidential information, like internal city computer code or info about an active police investigation. Burdick says more reminders are probably needed. There are a few areas of government work where city officials seem to agree AI should be off limits, mainly hiring and law enforcement. Bellingham Communications Director Melissa Morin says she's uncomfortable with city staff using AI image generation.
Don't even go there. It's just too problematic. It often even just creates some really funky images.
In the many examples of city staff using ChatGPT to produce images, most seemed to just be having fun with it. They used it to generate minion memes or goofy pictures of themselves or coworkers. Everett's IT director says its AI policy will include a provision saying the city won't use AI weapon systems. So, no killer drones. Jai Jashima is the co-founder of the Transparency Coalition, a national organization that advocates for regulating AI and for accountability. He thinks AI could ultimately be a helpful tool for local governments, but only with lots of guardrails for safety and transparency.
So I think just having that knowledge that AI was used, and then I think it also creates kind of an expectation that, okay, you used AI, but you're not off the hook.
None of the records I looked at from Bellingham and Everett were labeled as AI generated. Garcia, the constituent who emailed about the snowplow, says she'd feel a little better if there was a disclosure in the email she received, but she'd still prefer that a human just wrote it. Nate Sanford reporting.
And finally, a slithery, scaly, slimy story from Monroe, Washington. The Reptile Zoo in Monroe is set to close this fall after nearly 30 years of teaching kids about exotic animals. KUOW's Casey Martin reports families are hurrying in to say goodbye to their favorite cold-blooded friends.
It's meet and greet time inside the Reptile Zoo. Little kids pack the narrow hallways, pressing their faces up to the glass tanks. Staring back at them, a tub full of crocodiles, a black mamba snake, and a turquoise blue iguana.
Oh, he's good enough. He likes to eat.
Isaac Peterson shows a group of kids a large Burmese python. It's nearly 10 feet long, and the kids squeal when they pet it.
Hey, you guys want to touch it?
Peterson has been around these snakes and crocs his entire life. His dad, Scott, is the reptile man. Since the mid-90s, the reptile man has traveled around Western Washington, showing off his rare animals. If you went to elementary school around here in the past 30 years, he probably came to your school.
He's done 25,000 shows over the last 35 years, so he's performed for probably over 2 million people.
This spot in Monroe is home to over 130 different reptiles. Many are rare, endangered, and venomous.
Hey guys, remember we didn't know where you got horses?
Today, the zoo is really busy because these animals won't be here for long. Peterson says he's closing the zoo this fall. The 7,000 square foot place is too expensive to run, he says.
The zoo could have shut down multiple times, even before I took over in 2012, just because it's just a financial black hole, you know?
Parents are bringing in their tiny kids to see the animals for the last time. 7-year-old Nayeli Matajan was here to see
a tortoise and an alligator and also a snake, and I forget the others.
What's been your favorite thing so far today?
A tortoise.
What do you think of the alligators and the snakes?
I don't really like them because they look pretty creepy.
She stood by tortoises that look like boulders next to her little sister,
Casey.
Thank you, Casey. How old are you?
6.
And what did you enjoy seeing today?
The snakes and all the pets.
Did you get to pet or touch any of them today?
I got to pet one of the turtles outside. There was dirt on it and it felt rough. It also felt smooth.
These sisters met the reptiles for the first time. But 8-year-old Chelsea Morales comes here a lot with her mom. She knows every animal's name. 2 of her favorites are a pair of turtles on the other side of the building.
Lily and Tim.
She tells me I have to check out the 2-headed turtle, Pete and Repeat.
It literally has 2 heads and 1.
And that's not all.
Plus, you also need to see Marcus, which is actually older than my mom.
Marcus, the alligator snapping turtle, born in 1970. Parents here say they remember meeting some of these same animals decades ago.
We'll really miss all the animals. We've been watching The Reptile Man even when I was younger.
Stephanie, Chelsea's mom, says the Reptile Man came to her library when she was a kid.
Then you'd get to put the alligator on your head and other animals, reptiles you'd get to hold and touch.
Chelsea isn't saying goodbye to her reptile friends quite yet. She wants to come back again before the zoo closes for good in a few months.
It's sad. I hope that they make a new one because I'm going to miss all the animals, especially Pete and Repeat and Marcus.
It's unclear where the dozens of animals will go next. Many need warm temperatures and pools of water. Zoo owner Isaac Peterson says he's already talking to interested buyers. Though if he had the money, he'd keep them all. It's his family's love for the gators and tortoises and snakes that's kept them going for so long.
If you don't have the bug for the animals, you're not going to stick around. Schedule's not that great. Money's not that great. That's what has kept me around.
The Reptile Zoo is set to close October 18th. In Monroe, I'm Casey Martin, KUOW News.
Thanks for listening to Seattle Now. Our production team includes Caroline Chamberlain Gomez, Andy Hurst, Vaughn Jones, Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers, and Paige Browning. Greg Kramer does our theme music. Seattle Now and KUOW Public Radio are members of the NPR network. I'm Patricia Murphy. See you soon.